Posture where we can relax completely, settle our body, speech and mind in their natural state. Relaxation, stillness, vigilance. Take 3 deep breaths and release with each out breath any tensions, concerns, worries, hopes and fears. And come to rest in the present moment. Now, allowing your breath to be natural, set your intention for this practice. And we find more mental calm, stability, presence, and open our hearts to our soul sentient beings. And spend a few minutes on the Shamatha method of your preference. Cultivating attention without losing relaxation. With introspection, monitor the quality of your awareness. Check if you are attentive, vivid, present. And if not, apply the antidotes, correct your posture. Relax more or focus more, depending on what you need to balance your attention. let's remember that love is a wish for sentient beings, including yourself, to have happiness and its causes. So reflect on what is happiness. Think of the short-term benefits of temporal happiness. This is the happiness experienced in cyclic existence, such as that received from having wealth, friends, reputation, health, good rebirth, and so forth. Now think of the long-term benefits of happiness received from practicing the Dharma, which brings mental happiness, peace of mind, liberation, and enlightenment. Begin by wishing yourself to have these two types of happiness. Not in a selfish way, but because we care and respect ourselves. Each one of us is also a sentient being. Imagine yourself being happy in these ways. Now rejoice that you are cultivating the causes of your own happiness. Now imagine in front of you your friends, your relatives, your dear ones. And think, feel, and imagine. May my friends and all those who have been kind to me have happiness and its causes. May they be free of suffering, confusion, and fear. May they have calm, peaceful, and fulfilled hearts. May they be liberated from all the miseries of cyclic existence, and may they attain the bliss of enlightenment. And imagine from your heart sending rays of light, bringing them the two kinds of happiness, temporal and ultimate. Now bring to mind strangers, all those beings, the great majority of beings who you label as strangers, and generate the same loving feeling towards them. And they have happiness and its causes. May they have calm, peaceful, and fulfilled hearts. May they attain the bliss of enlightenment. Imagine sending from your heart the two kinds of happiness, bringing them everything they need. And now spread your love to those who have harmed you or with whom you don't get along. Recognize that they do what you find objectionable because they are experiencing pain or confusion. How wonderful it would be if they were free from those. So wish them that they find calm, peaceful and fulfilled hearts, that they develop wisdom and compassion and loving kindness. And keep extending that light, reaching all sentient beings, sending those loving wishes. Send that light to different parts of the world, reaching each and every sentient being, including animals, including bacteria, include all sentient beings. Now imagine those rays of light expand beyond this planet, beyond this realm, and reach all those beings who have passed away, beings that are in other realms as well. Each and every sentient being find happiness and its causes. And rest in that experience of loving kindness towards all sentient beings. finish dedicating the merit so we can continue opening our hearts, cultivating loving kindness, and wishing well to each and every sentient being. Through this merit, may we cultivate the causes for enlightenment for ourselves and others. As you see, we can do a session for all the groups of sentient beings, but we can also do a session of loving kindness just for ourselves, a session just for strangers, a session for our loved ones, and like that for different groups. We can also do a whole session of loving kindness meditation for one person that we know we want to send them those aspirations, those wishes, and connect with them from that mental state of loving kindness. And remember that love is not attachment. It's not the attached love that we usually think of when we say the word love. Most of those loves we are used to are filled with attachment. So we want to cultivate these aspirations from a state of equanimity, from non-attachment, without expecting anything in return, really wishing everyone we meet they find happiness and the causes of happiness. Okay. So this is one of the four measurables, and it can be cultivated infinitely. We can keep cultivating, it can grow and grow in our minds. And of course, the more we practice loving kindness, we reduce negative thoughts and negative feelings towards others. That sense of separation or alienation, we start connecting and feeling that every sentient being is like our sibling, or our parents, or our children, like they are our family. We really care for them. It balances with the other four immeasurables, as we discussed previously. If it's practice in balance with compassion, empathetic joy, and equanimity, it helps us develop all those qualities of the heart. So, do you have any question?
This is a little bit about yesterday too, but in one of the books I read, it was talking about all the mental formations and wholesome and unwholesome.
Mm-hmm.
And I was surprised that self-respect was listed as a wholesome. Also, like with the twist of there being no self, or sort of trying to move away from self-reification. So, can you talk a little bit about the balance between self-respect and self-reification.
Yeah. Well, as we discussed, we could go to the extreme of thinking there is no self at all, like I don't exist. But that's kind of going into nihilism, because we do exist. There's a relative self. And it's as real as anything else. So we want to cultivate that self-respect for that relative sentient beings that we are. And without reification, just for our conventional self, we recognize we're manifesting as a sentient being, and we wish that we are happy, we respect ourselves, we care for ourselves, and in that way we cultivate happiness, relative happiness too, but we also are more open to develop that wisdom of understanding the ultimate level, which is that there is no reified self independent of anything else, but the relative truth is always there too, the cause and effect, so we want to be loving and respectful to that relative self. Well, all these practices are within the path of the Lamrim and the Sutrayana and the path of the Bodhisattva. So, as we know, in this path is a path of these paths are developmental. We're cultivating the causes that align with the truth, so that eventually all of those causes lead us to awakening. We're cultivating skillful means, merit. We're cultivating wisdom, cultivating compassion, concentration, all these things, living an ethical way of life. All these things together will lead us and direct us in the realm that is in the relative reality, in where we're cultivating causes and there are consequences. All of this is leading us to the ultimate truth. So we're aligned with that discovery path that we could also follow, right? In other lineages, or if we connect with a true realized being that can lead us faster in the path of discovery. If you connect with a being that is almost enlightened or is a bodhisattva, and you have the fortune to be near them, just by being next to them or seeing them or interacting or just by making a karmic connection, that process can be accelerated. Right? That's why I was thinking, and I want to see what you guys think. I told a couple of you, but I was thinking about going and visiting Tenzin Palmo, if you would be interested, because she's so close. She's like an hour from here. She's a truly remarkable practitioner and realized Westerner. So it's very inspiring, her life. There's a book called The Cave in the Snow, which describes her life and how, I think she's British, and she was one of the first women that got ordination, the first Western woman to get ordained, But she passed through so much hardships in her path that is really inspiring. She came to study with her teacher, Kamchol Rinpoche, and she had to sit outside at the edge of the compound because it was like a college for men, for monks. But she wanted to come to the teachings, and then she started connecting and practicing. At that time, there wasn't many opportunities. And then she spent like 12 years or something in retreat in a cave in the snow, right? And she is an example of a very strong renunciation and really a commitment to the path that is amazing, right? In the book, there is the story that she was meditating in the cave, and then there was a snowstorm, and the whole cave was covered with snow. So she thought she was going to die because she opened the door, and there was just snow covering the whole space. So she didn't have enough oxygen to survive for a long time. So she started doing all the preparations in her practice to do as much practice she could do before dying. And she was like already prepared and ready to die when she heard the voice of her teacher saying, "Did." And so she was like, "Did?" So she got a pan, and opened the door and started digging in the snow until she was able to dig a tunnel and come out. But when she came out, she was able to breathe, but she saw that the snowstorm was still very strong, falling. So she couldn't exit, but she slid down in the tunnel back into her cave. But there was some oxygen kind of filling the cave again, and it covered it. So she did it like several times. She had to dig until finally, in one of those, the storm had finished, and she was able to leave, and then being rescued. I mean, some people down in the village knew she was meditating over there and went to look for her. But yeah, there's some stories, amazing stories in the book about all the things she had to pass through during all those years of retreat. Amazing. So she's a very sweet teacher, very wise person, and I thought it would be really nice. Last retreat I gave here, we went as a group to her monastery. We had a very nice talk with her, and then she gave us a tour of the Gompa, explained. She has a lot of murals in beautiful, amazing hall. A lot of female Buddhas, amazing art. And there is the Buddha surrounded by the bhikkhunis, the ordained Sangha of female Sangha. And she said, I went to so many monasteries and I never see all these great practitioners depicted, so I wanted to have them here. It's beautiful. The place she created is really amazing. And it's very near the monastery of her teacher. In the monastery of Kamchol Rinpoche is in Tashiyong. So when she met her teacher, I don't know, maybe in the 70s or 80s, and then he passed away. And then they found his reincarnation, as it is tradition in the Tibetan culture. So they found the reincarnation, and they put the boy in his back in his monastery. So she went to meet him, his reincarnation, and she was a bit nervous because she didn't know like if she was gonna feel like same connection with the boy, if the boy would recognize her. But she came in the room, and the boy was playing with his toys, but then he saw her and started very joyful, saying, "That's my nun, that's my nun." And he was so excited to see her, and she was really happy and knew this was her teacher. So his monastery is also very close, so I think we could go visit him. I mean, now he must be like in his 30s or something, I don't know. But if we could meet him, he is a great lineage holder of the Kayu Mahamudra tradition. And, well, if you have the opportunity of meet someone like that with that level of realization, it's like having a blessing, right there. Just you don't even need to talk with them. Just sitting in their presence can be a transformative experience if your mind is open, right? So I thought we could go to his monastery and see if we can be granted an audience as a group. Last time we went, he was doing a personal retreat, so we couldn't see him, but we left an offering basket with fruits and things, and we did what is called circumambulations. So we walked around his temple and around his house, and just by making an offering and going, you make a connection, right? So he might be available now. There might be a line, but we can try and see him, and then go and see Tenzin Palmo, eat at her monastery, and then come back on the same day. And also in his monastery, if he wasn't available or something, or even if we can see him, there is a very special place there, because when his previous incarnation came from Tibet, he brought a group of practitioners that were called Dogdens, and it's a particular lineage, Dogdens. There were, I think, 13 Dogdens, something like that, and it's a very particular lineage that is almost extinguished if it wasn't for him and for Tenzin Palmo, who have created the conditions for them to remain. But these were very advanced yogis that were in retreat for life, just practicing. And they had long hairs tied. And these Dogdens achieved great realizations, and the stories are amazing. So they lived in Tashiyong, in this monastery. They had, above the monastery, they had their hermitage or their places for retreat. And there's a room up where they have a little meditation hall, and it has a stupa, a little stupa. And in there are the relics that these Dogdens left. And I think there's even like a small rainbow body in there. And you can walk around this little stupa, and it has the pictures of them and their rosary, their mala, the thing you count mantras with, their some personal belongings, and inside there's all these relics, right? So we sat there and meditated And it really can also be in a place like that can bring your mind to experience a sense of peace and connection with that Buddha nature, right? Because you receive the blessings of these beings, of their Buddha mind, right? So I thought we could do this little trip, although I know we are not finished with the retreat, so I wanted it to be optional, because if you feel it could disrupt your retreat, well, maybe don't go. But we can also see it as an opportunity to see how we are doing. Keeping our mindfulness, we would go together, take some cars to go and come back, not getting engaged in a lot of activity or distraction, with a very meaningful purpose. And that way we could also see what comes to our mind when we are seeing the streets and people. Maybe we experience some compassion or connection with them, or maybe we feel overwhelmed by all the movement and activity we see as we drive there, right? But still it can be a way to practice. So I wanted to see what you think, if you would be interested. We can if we have the chance and the karma to make a connection with them, I think it could be worthy. Yeah?
Yes.
Yeah?
I think as long as we can maintain silence, I think it's very important that we maintain that discipline.
It would be like that we all support each other by being silent, not just start talking and feeling like the retreat is over. But also try to be collected. Of course, if someone approaches us and talks to us, trying to be respectful and kind and talk to them, but not saying, I'm in retreat, I can't speak to you, right? But as much as possible, supporting each other in that, maintaining the continuity of our practice, right? And this would be on the 13th. So we are the 3rd, in about 10 days. You have the paper already?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay, can I see? I thought this paper would arrive later. And also in Tachijong, it's a very special place, I think. We would have to leave early in the morning and see if we can meet him. They don't make appointments. We don't know if he's in retreat or not. But that's how things are here. Over the years I've been coming to India and Nepal, and it's really a lot of matter of karma. Sometimes you are thinking you're going to do something, and suddenly they tell you there's going to be a meeting with a great master, and then you're just there without knowing how that happened, or they're offering an empowerment, and then some teaching, and then that's the empowerment you always wanted to have, and then you're there. Like, sometimes it just happens like in a very magical way. So even if we are not able to see him, just being in that place and meditating, if we can, in that little gompa with the talk dance, that would be really, really nice. Okay, so she can see us at 3 p.m. and we can eat lunch. We have to pay for the lunch, I think that's okay. Okay. So sign the paper if you want to go, And if you change your mind and you wanna stay, that's also okay. You can stay and do practice, and that's also very meaningful. We'll dedicate the merit of this visit for the benefit of all, right?
Put it in the pouch in the office.
Excuse me?
Put it in the office box.
The paper? Yes. Yes.
We should give you a talk, like a common talk.
When you have this kind of audiences, it's kind of very spontaneous, but usually they, when you go in a group, there's more. They give you more time, and they sometimes they say, "Do you have questions?" Sometimes they give something that is coming spontaneously from their mind and from what they are feeling in the moment to say what is appropriate. But usually, they say something connected to the practice, and we can. I was thinking we could ask if they can tell us a little bit more about the practice of Mahamudra. So in that case, by asking and requesting, which is what traditionally you would request teachings, right? So if they know we've been practicing the Lamrim, Shamatha, vipashyana, all these practices, that you have a foundation, then there is more possibility that they can give an extra teaching that goes from heart to heart, from mind to mind. Normally it's like that with Kayun and Dzogchen masters. They would talk a little bit, and then sometimes they say, "Do you have questions?" In a kind of informal way, not like sitting and having a whole teaching like you would get if you go to a course with her or a retreat where she's talking about the wheel of life and talking about these specific things or something, right? So, and with him, I don't know. I haven't met him, right? So I don't know how it is with him. But anyways, I think it would be a nice experience. I mean, I don't know if he speaks English or if there's someone that translates. Nowadays, most teachers speak some English. But for example, when I was doing retreat in Bhaktapur in Trangus monastery, I was there for 10 months doing retreat. Then I went to Thailand for another 2 months, and before leaving, Trungpa Rinpoche came. He's usually traveling from his Dharma centers. He has a huge enlightened activity, and they told us, Trungpa Rinpoche is here. Do you want to see him? And my brother was doing retreat in the next room, so we went, and it was 2 of us, but he doesn't speak English. So we came and sat with him in his room. But immediately, just by being there, like your mind enters into another state, because like his presence is really enlightening. So it was wonderful just to sit there with him, and the communication was like just looking at each other. It was like they can teach you something if you have the openness. So you don't even need the conceptual language in those cases. And then, for example, with Sogni Rinpoche, we talked a lot. He gave us tea. He introduced us his daughter and his wife, and like he's used to be with Westerners, speaks very well English. So we talk about a variety of topics, and then sometimes you go and they just tell you one phrase, and then tell you, okay, bye. So you never know. But there's always a teaching in whatever you experience, right? So you can try it again.
What exactly do you mean by realized being, like Tenzing Palmo, and how many different stages of enlightenment or realization are there? And is it permanent? Once you attain shamatha or say enlightenment, is it just a momentary thing, or is it like you are enlightened for? I don't
Well,
know.
once you attain enlightenment, it's irreversible.
Okay.
It's like if you stop being ignorant and now you're not ignorant,
Yeah.
you don't go back to ignorance.
Okay. It's not like a eureka moment.
The enlightenment is something that is not reversible. But for example, shamatha is reversible. And actually, the tradition says that we have achieved shamatha several times in past lives, but we've lost it. And that's because if you don't keep a little bit of practice, then your bad habits can come back again, right? And of course, you can be in your meditation, find that sense of calm abiding, and then come out, and all the mental afflictions can be triggered, because if you don't have a vipashyana practice, you believe all the appearances to be truly there from their own side, and then you react with attachment, aversion, and ignorance. So the vipassana, when you achieve realization of emptiness, there's kind of levels, as you would say, right? But there's a point where it's not reversible. You have stabilized that recognition, and it becomes your normal way of perceiving, instead of the diluted way of seeing reality, right? And then in the Bodhisattva paths, they talk about bhumis. So there are stages that you achieve. And there are 10 bhumis. And then you become enlightened, you become a Buddha, right? So you can never know unless you have the same level of realization. Like if you are a Buddha, you know the level of each sentient being, in which level they are, right, of realization. If you are an arhat, you can recognize other arhats. If you are a bodhisattva, you can recognize other bodhisattvas.
What is nirvana?
But when I say I think she has a lot of realization, is because you see her life completely, fully dedicated to Dharma practice, and then what she has done for the community of practitioners here in India, for the Tibetans, for the Westerners, her activity and the books she has written, and when you go to a teaching with her, you say, well, she's not ordinary in the sense of like deluded, living a life of grasping and attachment and aversion, and just focus on the 8 mundane concerns like everybody else, right? So, and you can sense she's like her mind is in a state of peace, and many people, by being with her, have found that their minds get calmer and there's a sense of openness and love arising in their minds naturally. So just her life is an example, So I would say anybody that lives like that and has such a meaningful life, someone that has some realization, right?
So there are stages, obviously.
Yeah.
You said 10 stages, is it?
In the Bodhisattva path, yeah.
And what is nirvana? Nirvana is not full realization, just liberation.
Nirvana is realization of emptiness.
Okay.
Is the cessation of suffering is the understanding, but realization, not just intellectual understanding, a realization that is sustained and made the karma doesn't affect you anymore because you are not reifying the self of yourself and the self of all phenomena. So you are free. That's what an arhat achieves. It's a fully liberated being. But it's similar to some stages of the Bodhisattva, because the Bodhisattva path was mainly practiced in Mahayana countries, and the arhatship was practiced in countries where they practice the Sutrayana. So nowadays we can see those similitudes, right, in achievements, but the paths are slightly different. And then Kamchu Rinpoche, I think he is a bodhisattva of a very advanced stage. Only someone like that can have such enlightened activity, and not only in this life, I mean life after life. I think this is his 9th incarnation, so it's life after life after life of a continuous practice and work and helping so many beings, right? So if we can have that connection with the Bodhisattva, it's wonderful, right? And then when His Holiness the Dalai Lama comes back from his trip toward Gaia, I mean, I don't know if we will have the chance to see him, but he usually gives teachings in his monastery, which is very close to here, as we know. And if you hear that he is giving teaching, you can go and you can see him very close. Maybe it's not as easy as with other teachers that you go and offer a kata and sit and talk with him, unless you have a very good karma, again, who knows. But just being there in his teachings and the environment it generates in his monastery is pretty impressive and transformative. So you can see him very close and create that connection by receiving one of his teachings, then you make a connection with him. Yeah.
Will we find out when he's coming back and when the teachings will be taking place?
Well, I can ask, but usually everybody knows. I don't know, like if you go to my MacLeod and ask in the monastery or around, they usually people start talking. Oh, tomorrow there's teaching with His Holiness. Like people start talking to everybody, and you hear just.
And Losar's coming up too, and
Losar.
he always gives prayers.
In February,
I was
right?
here last year, and I went to see him 4 times, or 4 years ago, and I saw him 4 times. But over Losar, he gives several prayer sessions and several teachings.
Yeah, Losar is the Tibetan New Year,
The
and it
last 2 weeks
happens
of February.
Eh?
Last 2 weeks of February.
last 2 weeks of February. So usually there's at that time a lot of activities in the monasteries. Yeah.
You can also check the website of
Ah,
so Dalai Lama.
Dalai Lama.
They normally
Yeah.
offer when he is giving
They
teaching.
put them,
so,
they stream them.
I
That's
mean, for
right.
example, for the long life offering, which was given directly before our retreat here,
Mhm.
it was not planned that he will attend it, but then he changed his mind somehow, and then it was currently open, and I don't know, 1 day before also on the website. So it's also possible to check frequently the website of the schedule.
And you can't just show up. You have to go register, bring your passport, get a pass. It's not, you just show up at temple.
No, I just showed up and they let me in.
It depends.
They let you?
They let me in.
That
Actually, the
changes.
guy said at first no, but then I was standing there and then he just told me, come on, drop your phone there in the store and I will let you in. And I
Yeah, I don't
arranged
know,
with
but
the
it's,
gift shop, they kept my phone and stuff and I...
But it's good, like if you want to attend the teaching, to go and ask in the office if you need to register. But I don't know the protocol right now, but you can check. I will check the website and let you know if there's something coming after the retreat, if I hear that there's something coming. And I also have some friends in town, so I will ask them if they know. And yeah, if you have an opportunity to go to his temple and just go and meditate a little bit there, go visit the great statue of Chenrezig, and yeah, it's also creating a connection with him.